Happy Self-Love Sunday, ladies. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your journeys are going well. So today I want to talk to you about something that just happened to me this past week. So I was still celebrating my birthday on Monday, and for my birthday, still celebrating. Leos can't let it go. We gonna celebrate all month, right? So I'm going to my friend's house, and I'm getting ready to pass by this shopping center. Now this is a shopping center I pass by often, but never in the past 7 years have this memory popped up in my head. So 7 years ago, like on 4th of July weekend, all of a sudden it just comes in my head, oh my God, I was sitting in that very parking lot bawling my eyes out because the night before I had gotten into one of the biggest fights. Now me and my ex, always my ex-boyfriend, we had a tumultuous relationship where we get into these fights, but never had it been this bad. It was one of the worst fights we had ever had. But whenever we would get into these altercations, there would always be this one friend of his that I would always call, right? And like he was just like always there. And I'm getting ready to hit this parking lot and that memory hits me and I'm like, oh my God. Like I remember it was literally the worst fight ever with me. Like it was just horrible and I'm bawling and I'm crying. But I was getting ready to head to Ohio to my girlfriend's baby shower. We were supposed to go together, well, that didn't happen because the fight was just beyond bad. And I just remember I was just on the phone and I was uncontrollable, like sobs, going on. And he was there and he like talked me through it and talked me through like, because I really couldn't talk me through what I was feeling because it was just really bad, but just being there, listening to me, and just kind of helped me get the strength that I needed to get back on that road and just head on to Ohio to the baby shower. And I did that. But what the memory brought up for me was a few things, okay? The first thing was, God, it was 7 years ago. And my first thought was, I just remember going through some of the worst times in a toxic ass relationship, um, and his friend was always there. Like I had to stop and say, I couldn't call anybody else, and not because I didn't have friends, but if we're going to be honest today, there's times when you're going through something that's really toxic and the shame, the guilt, the like people saw me as this strong, I can do anything, I'm everything type of woman. So I couldn't allow them to know that I was going through something that had me completely broken, on the inside. And I like to make things very clear doing these videos because I am no victim, so I don't do blaming. I understand that my lack of boundaries, allowed certain things into my life and we've moved on from that. But it's just the point of during that time, it was so much shame and guilt, and I could not allow myself to be vulnerable because I always felt like the wolves would attack. And let me tell you something, you are not going to attack me. I'm always going to be ready. That was like my attitude back then. And I just couldn't let people know like this was happening to me in this relationship. So I just remember like I would always be crying and I would always be calling him and he would always pick up the phone, and it prompted something in me to send him a message to really say thank you. And I'm telling you, when I was doing it at the time, all I was remembering was the memory and the fact that it was like in my spirit, I knew I needed to reach out to him to say thank you because you were the only one that could have been there for me. And every single time you talked me off the ledge and you listened to me and you just helped me pull through, and you always wanted the best for me. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do that. And I always tell people all the time, we take for granted a lot of times what people do in our lives, but everybody has issues. Everybody has problems. Everybody has their own things that they need to get through. So if someone's taking their time out, to be there for you in the worst times of their life, sometimes you have to stop and say thank you. A lot of times we wait to give people their flowers when they're gone, or sometimes, we're gone and it's too late. So I just really felt compelled to reach out to him and just say thank you. Like, I think that's so important to do. And a lot of times we think these memories come up and it's just coincidental. I'm here to tell you it's not coincidental. a lot of times, especially like for me, I told you last week we were talking about the fact that when my birthday comes up, I'm always evaluating where I'm going, what's next for me, what am I doing, because I have healed a lot of pain in my life. But there's sometimes when you heal things, but there's still little trickles of that you still need to heal. And I didn't even realize that. I always give my spiritual advisor, that's my professional, but my heart center, Sonya, I always give her credit for having these discussions with me, because she was one that helped me really understand that moment was a part of my healing too, because that has been something that hadn't come up. I mean, I hadn't thought about that in years, like honestly, like it just came up, and it wasn't out of nowhere. I was ready to heal that piece of what happened to me in the past. I was ready to admit that I felt shame and guilt, and I would never allow people to see me broken. So I just would live behind this shadow. I remember, listen, I used to go teach fitness and everybody's be like, look at this girl, she bad to the bone. I'm like, hey, Zumba, what's up? I'm strong, powerlifting. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, it was a hot mess. With me and him. And I also have to put this disclaimer in there because people watch my videos and they love to try to piece together my life, and they really can't. But I also like to say I'm not talking about my kid's father. It is not him. Our relationship was something completely different, and I'll get into that maybe one day, but not today. We are not talking about him today. And we're not going to make this about the men. It's about us, right? It's about our healing. And the memory also served as a reminder, because sometimes I don't give myself credit. I mean, it may seem like I do, but sometimes I don't give myself credit for just how far I've come in life, how many things I've worked through. Man, listen, I've gotten through domestic violence. I've gotten through grief, losing my son, losing somebody who I truly, loved to death last year. And even thinking about that, what a big difference a year can make. Just last year, this time I was in Florida, and I went there. I was completely broken and just damaged, and feeling like I was done with God. All for all of that to be the exact opposite this year. Here I am, grateful, thankful, blessed, and listen, no more fronting for you and anybody else. Okay, there's no shame, there's no guilt. People can't hold me to something. They can't put something out about me, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel any of that anymore. I am totally free. And that's what doing the work will get you, is freedom. It will get you freedom from the chains that bind you. And there is no other chains that can bind you down harder than shame or guilt. Shame and guilt of what people will think and what people will say. And it wasn't until I realized that the people who talk about you and talk about that are going through the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? The people who would judge you on that, they're going through the worst. But they don't want to deal with their stuff. And I almost said shit, I ain't gonna lie, right? They don't want to deal with their shit. So it's easier for them to point the fingers at, oh yeah, look, she thought she was this and she was going through. Like, it's easy for them. But I had to learn that. I had to work on that. It's not easy to even put myself out here now. I would have never back then done a video like and talk about, things that happened to me. No, because it was too much shame and guilt and worrying about what people were going to say and how they were going to judge me. But it's memories like that that serve as a reminder is, I don't give a damn what you think. Do you know what it took for me to pull myself out of that hole? Do you know what it took for me to finally forgive myself for the things that I allowed to happen to me? Do you know what it took to finally set myself free from that relationship and that person who I thought, let me tell you something right now, I thought he was my end all be all. I wasn't gonna live. You know how you go through that, right? I don't know I'm gonna live without him. I'm living and living swell and well and healed. You know what I mean? I feel that shit. Like, real talk. Am I perfect? No. Does shit still happen in my life? Absolutely. Do I cry? Probably more than I ever have in my entire life, unless I'm feeling stuck, because that happens to me too. But because I have boundaries, because I've worked on the trauma, because I've dealt with the healing, and this is all by, and we talk about it all the time, journaling, learning how to meditate. Physical fitness was a big part of it. Then it's not so much now, and that's something I need to work on, right? Because I told you guys, I go through my own little things too in here. It's not perfect, right? So also seeking out a therapist, seeking out a coach, seeking out a spiritual healer. It took all of those things, and it took me willing. It took me wanting. It took me saying, let me tell you something. I am never going to be that again. I'm never going to be in that place again. I'm never going to allow anyone to do those things. And I stand by that. Let me tell you, I'm thinking about something that's happening with me even right now. The thing that drives me crazy about people, and I'm going to say it a lot of times, men, right, is the I'm sorry is just lip service, right? I'm going to tell you something, ladies, that I strongly live by, and I'm affirm with it. The best apology is change behavior. When I apologized to myself and I forgave myself for what I allowed to happen in my life, the thing that I said was, I'm not going to give myself lip service. I'm going to actually change my behaviors. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of isolation, being by myself, really reading and focusing and just saying, like, listen, by any means righteous necessary, whatever it takes for me not to sit in that hole again, I'm not doing it. You have to understand, the best apology is change paper. So many people are just so willing to give lip service. And I'm going to tell you, when you start to grow and work on your healings and set boundaries, you're not going to allow people to give you lip service, because you're no longer going to give you lip service. I no longer give myself lip service. When I work through something and I apologize to myself, my lower level self, right? Because when I reach a higher level, when I apologize, I change the behavior. I don't keep allowing it. And even that takes work. And is there times when I may backslide? Back then, probably more than I ever would now. But it, again, because I continue to work on myself, I don't get in a place where I'm like, I'm good, everything's fine, because I understand that life's a journey. Every level has new devils, is what they call them, right? And I don't look at devil as this physical thing. I'm talking about energies. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about things, because life continues to happen. So every level, it's bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why you got to continue to work on yourself. That's why you got to continue your healing. That's why when those memories come up, they come up to serve you, to remind you, hey, listen, I've come far. I may not be where I want to be, but damn it, I've come far. It serves as a time to say to someone, you know what? If someone was there for you like that, pick up the phone and say thank you. If you're still in contact with that person. If you're no longer in contact with that person and you can't get in contact with them, that's fine too. Write it out. Write a letter to them. You don't even have to mail the letter. Write a letter and sit out on your deck, your patio, go outside, I don't care, and burn a letter and send it into the universe. Say thank you. All of that is a part of you. Don't ever think of things as a coincidence. It's not. More often than not, it's serving you in some way, and it's serving as a reminder to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because we always are complaining about what we don't have and where we're not. But when you look back and that memory hits you, say, look how far I've come. Thank you. Thank you. Remember, the best apology is change behavior. So let's change this behavior. If you need help with understanding how that all works and what it all entails, please reach out to me, moesassfitness@gmail.com. Moesass, and how I spell Mo is M-O-E. I know sometimes people are typing M-O, so it's M-O-E, Moesass, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, fitness@gmail.com. Moesassfitness LLC on Instagram and Facebook. I look forward to hearing with you. Let's get healed. Let's do this. Let's understand that this journey is going to continue. And every step of the way, you can keep getting better and better and better. If you're willing, if you want it, and if you're ready, I'm here. Have a great rest of the day.